Let's talk about leadership and let's talk about leading with your 3H, and that's heart, head, and hands. This is Now Tell Us, and I'm your host, Anthony Morore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories, they come and inspire us, they come and educate us on a subject, and always we're having a great time. And that means that today we are going to have a great time because we have a great guest with us. Her name is Victoria Noethling. It's a hard name for me. She's gonna tell us how to pronounce it better. Now, I want you to be with us here. Please stay with us. If you have a question, ask. If you have a comment, we love feedback. So we'll be looking forward to getting to hear from you from all the places that we are broadcasting. We are on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all the places. And remember to share these with your friends. So I want to take this opportunity to invite you to go together with me and meet our guest today, Victoria. Here we go. Hi, Victoria.
Hello, how are you, Anthony?
I'm fine. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing wonderful, thank you.
Where are you?
I am in Roswell, Georgia, just north of downtown Atlanta.
That's wonderful. It's a place that I would like one day to be.
Oh, yeah.
Atlanta,
Yeah, you
Georgia.
should visit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I had a difficult time pronouncing your second name. I haven't seen it.
You
This is
actually,
my first time I'm seeing it.
yeah, you actually have said it correctly. The O is silent, so it's Noethling.
Nothing.
Yeah, you
And
did it.
and where is it from?
So it's a German name,
Okay.
and so the O and the E in German have an umlaut above it, so that makes the O silent. So it's
All right.
Noethling.
I'm glad I got it.
I
One of
think
the
in German it's pronounced nerdling. So I'm a
Nothing.
nerd by heart.
German, and you talk about Guten Tag, Guten Morgen. It's a hard language.
It is.
Yeah. And how did you come to? Do you have a background in? I mean, all your parents, your. How
No.
did you acquire that
I'm
name?
I'm married into that name. My
Oh,
name is a four-letter word, Sage,
okay.
originally. That's my maiden name,
Yeah.
and, it's Slovenian and Hungarian, it's a mixture, we call it myself a Heinz 57 kind of person. I have a lot of different cultures in me, but my husband was pure German, and so that's where the name came from.
That's wonderful. Good to know that. Today we're going to talk about leadership. But before we go there, we would like to know who exactly is Victoria?
Who am I? That's a good
Yeah.
question. You know, I think of myself as a continually evolving person. So
Mm-hmm.
who I was in my 20s is far different than who I was in my 30s, 40s, 50s. And now in my 60s, I've become a much more confident person, uh, comfortable in my own skin. And I can't say that I was that for a lot of those years.
Mm-hmm.
And I owe a lot to who I am from my family, from my friends, from my colleagues, and from those that chose to give back. And I think that's where my heart is as a leader is I feel that now I need to give back. And
Mm-hmm.
so the mentors that I have had over the years have been really wonderful. And a lot of them were men, and a few of them were very I wanna say strong, but I don't want you to think of it as strong as like macho, masculine strong, but
Yeah.
strong in their belief in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that's one of the things that I say to the people that I mentor and coach today is that I will believe in you until you believe in yourself. And I think that's so important for us. No matter how successful you get, you always have that doubt. And especially if you become that evolving person that someone is continually growing, then you're continually pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and you're continually doubting that you can do it. But I think the secret is just to say yes,
mm,
or don't have the word I can't, I shouldn't, I won't. And
mm,
just think of the possibilities if you do, if you should, if you can.
mm. The possibilities are endless. Right?
Absolutely, and the world we're in right now with continual changing and exciting things coming on the horizon, um, while some people are afraid of maybe what the changes bring, I think it's going to be so exciting to live in this time.
Yeah, it's exciting, it's interesting. And one of the great things that we need on this present day, and it has always been even in the days gone, is a good leadership.
Yeah.
And this is something that I know you're passionate about, so you're going to drive us into that direction of good leadership. And I saw you like three words that are starting with H, three H, the heart,
Mhm.
head, and hands. Yeah, dive us there, please.
And so I've been working since the 70s. So in the 70s, 80s, the leaders that we had were more authoritative, autocratic,
Mm-hmm,
where tell you what to do. You do as I do, you do as I say, you follow my lead, and your your opinions aren't always taken. And so and I also kind of go back to my childhood. I'm the second of 7 kids.
mm,
And as the second, in a lot of ways, I had to lead. I had to take initiative because there were all these kids after me that my mom needed help with.
yeah.
But then I also, because there's so many voices, if you will,
Mm-hmm,
that sometimes I just was silent. Didn't think that I was smart enough, good enough to really share my thoughts, and so I kept them to myself.
mm-hmm,
And as I grew as a leader, I saw that those mentors that I talked about earlier challenged me always with questions, that open-ended questions of, "What else? How can you tell me more? Tell
mm,
me more." And those continually pushing and pricking at you like this, needle, like, "More, more, more, you have to give me more," forced me to realize that my ideas were not to be discounted, that
mm-hmm,
I even if they weren't followed, even if they weren't done, they could have made or enriched what the final product or, system that we came up with. And I think that's what people need to understand. You don't have to be supplying the end-to-end solution by your thoughts or your suggestions, but a good leader will pull out, how can you make what we have already started to design better, more valuable to the customer? And I think too, as I was in franchising, if you will, for a while, and it really taught me how the customer, well, they often bring a lot of things that are right. You can't blindly say the customer's always right
mm-hmm,
because of the knowledge that they might not have that would make their answers right.
mm-hmm,
So, what I learned is you have to do what I did when I was younger, listen a lot.
mm,
So, while I wasn't the one talking, I was listening,
mm-hmm,
I was absorbing, I was taking in. And I think that is one of the traits that makes anyone a great leader, a great
mm-hmm,
speaker,
mm-hmm,
is that you not only think about what you're going to say next, but you see how what you want to say is really married and complements what was just spoken to you.
mm.
So as a leader, we have to remember that.
Listening.
Yeah.
Very,
And
very,
th
very good. Yeah.
and that's where, I guess to get back to the heart, the hand, and the hands, whenever I was, in my younger years as a manager, a supervisor, I was always just being, led by people who mostly just led by the head. This is the logical, this is the way we're gonna do it, this is what you're gonna do, and whenever I kinda swayed from that somewhat, my teams did so much better. And it got to the point where in my late 40s, I finally went to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that when I was in college and doing all the courses and the discussion groups, I found that I actually was one of the people that was leading people in the right direction in those discussions because I had lived it. I have done it. It wasn't a question as you have a lot of college students have like, well, will this really work?
Mm,
Is it really something we ever going to use? And I was like, absolutely, you can use these things. And so that confidence built and built and built. And then all of a sudden, in my role at work, because I was going to college and work at the same time, I started to implement those things. I started to get to know my people personally better.
mm,
I started to show them how much I cared about them and their personal lives and how I could um, understand how they needed to grow as an employee, as a team member. And all of a sudden, these people would do anything I asked because they knew it was being asked for a reason. They understood how it tied to the mission, they understood how it tied to their growth, and they were willing to do. And
mm,
so that's where it comes from leading from the heart is you have to have that time, that relationship building, that empathy when you speak with somebody that they know it isn't a show. It wasn't something that was some survey that came out and said, how are you treating your employees? And then you decided, well, it was too low and I need to change. It was because you truly, honestly cared about your people.
mm,
And especially today where we have constant change, you have to have those listening ears on to hear what your people need when they're confused, when they're frustrated, to be able to make changes to
mhm,
deal with that. So that's the heart. Then that leads you, okay, now you know these things. You have knowledge, you have information. How are you going to use it strategically to make an impact?
mm,
And that's where the head comes in.
mhm,
And then finally, as always, you have to be a servant leader.
mm,
When I give more than I get so much more.
mm,
Truly, when I give more than I get so much more because I feel that if I can help the people I coach, the people I work with, the people that I'm a team member with, if I give my 110% and I help them do their 110%,
mhm,
then everything we do will be so much better.
mm.
So that's the heart, the head, and the hands.
That's wonderful. The heart, the head, and the hands. I mean, you've got to hold it in your heart, then use your head and your hands. I mean, because there is a lot of information going on around, and as the boss, I say, I'm gonna give you the information, and you're gonna do what I said, and don't watch what I do. Don't even. I don't even mind what is going on in your life. You just have got to follow what the company law says. just,
Mhm.
just be productive.
Yeah,
It doesn't work these days.
yeah.
Hmm.
That just reminds me of a story, and this is really in the very early stages of my management. And I had a project. I had 9 people working for me, and I had a project that needed a database expert.
Hmm.
And so I had this young girl, who maybe in her 20s, early 20s, and she was a programmer, and she was excellent at what she did. But she was excellent at what she did at, like, between 1 and 4 AM.
Hmm.
And then during the day, she was not as energetic. So a typical 9 to 5 expectation of her was not gonna give me and our team what we needed.
Mm,
So I listened and I understood that, and I changed the rules. It's like, "Okay, you work for me in these early morning hours, and you produce all you need to do. And I just need you to come in for a little bit during the day to let me know how things are going, if you have any issues, any questions, any things like that. And that's how we're going to survive this. And she did excellent work for me. And it worked out that what project that we had, we entered in a contest within our company and we got the gold medal.
Mm.
And it was not just her, but all the team members. I knew that they were not gelling as a team in the beginning. And so I took them to, of all things, a movie. And some of the young people won't know this movie, but you should watch it. It's Mr. Holland's Opus.
Mm.
And in that movie, it just talks so much about how you expect one thing of yourself, but then you realize that you're shutting doors on other opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with watching that movie, and I took them out of the office during the day to watch a movie in the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
And then they knew that this was now opening the communication line. And this team did so great because I let them be themselves, be authentically, to do what they complain when they wanted, but bring solutions and be the inventors of what we were building. And I think that's one of the things where a manager that just says your way or the highway loses, because then they might in the next meeting say, well, I want you to brainstorm. We need a new idea. And they don't know how, because you've been telling them how to think for years and years. But
Mm.
now you want them to think on their own. And
Mm-hmm.
they're going to second guess everything they come up with, because is it going to be what you would do
Yeah.
instead of what's right?
Yeah, and we've got to accept that change is the only constant, as they say. And
Yeah.
the way things are changing and changing fast, the things don't have to be done the way they've always been done before.
Yeah.
We've seen this that now we are able to communicate online just like we are.
Hmm.
So meetings are held, people are working from their homes and they are doing
Yeah.
whatever it is that is required of them, and they are fulfilling their requirements.
Yeah.
And so things are gonna keep on changing. And there's one area that I know you're passionate about, and you mentioned it briefly as we are talking. And this is the area of communication. As things are changing, and you're a leader, or even you are not, you're someone who's working for an organization. I think that communication is a very important thing, and I know you are passionate about that. So talk about
Yeah.
it a bit. Tell us about it.
So one of the things that as a leader, as any person, any person, God gave us this gift of voice,
Mm.
and you have to be able to use it. And a lot of times we don't know. We get to grade school and we make a mistake as we give a presentation, or we raise our hand and answer a question and people laugh at us, or it's not received well by our teachers, and we decide, well, I'm not going to raise my hand anymore. We see this in our meetings all the time,
Yeah.
even to the point where the first two rows of a session, that a workshop that you go, are often not filled because people don't want to be called upon. They don't want to share.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is try to understand, or try to have you understand, how important your voice is, and how important it is that however you speak, if you stop thinking of it as a presentation, as a pitch, as uh, a motivational talk, if you will,
Mm.
even a review with your people, if you stop thinking of it as me talking at you and have it as a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
now all of a sudden, all of the natural things, the authentic way that you talk with a person, now makes that so much richer of a communication.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be able to often sell, if you're in a project or if you have a new idea to improve the way your company works or your department works or your team works, but you're afraid to share it, then it's not going to go anywhere. But
Mm-hmm.
if you bring your team together and start to give that back and forth of your idea and ask for feedback, ask for them to tell you what they think, now all of a sudden that communication is richer, it's better. And you don't feel the tension of having, oh my God, I'm going to go in front of these people. I'm going to tell them this, and they're going to reject it. They're not going to like it. They're going to think less of me. And so I'm just not going to go. I'm just not going to say anything. Or re, I'm going to return to just doing them death by PowerPoint. I'm going to have all my information on the slides, bullet pointed, and they're going to see that it's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you missed the whole point of convincing them. They have to see how it helps them, how it will make a difference to them, how they're impacted. So when we speak, we have to have those stories like the programmer. You have to be able to convince them. I remember one of my mentors was the CIO of the company that I worked for. And he was the best speaker. He's who really inspired me to try to improve my public speaking,
Mm-hmm.
to be a better communicator, especially since he pushed me into management and gave me these 9 people. And now listen, have a nice day. And he wasn't that kind of person. So he every day showed me, but through his stories of things that he went through,
Mm-hmm.
of where he's failed and got back up and made it better. How he wasn't the smartest person in the room. As a leader, when we want to communicate with our folks and we want them to fill in the blanks,
Mm-hmm.
we need to not be the smartest person in the room, or at least appear that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I think that you're the smartest person in the room, then I'm always going to think that I don't know enough to tell you what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
But if I realize that you appreciate the knowledge that I have, the skills that I bring, the gifts to this table, then all of a sudden I'm willing to have you hear what I think, knowing that you'll take it. And if it might not be the right thing, it might not be the answer, but we'll have that conversation as to why. So then again, back to earlier, you make it better.
Mm. Yeah, and I agree with you. In this fast-paced world, as someone said, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. You better change
Yeah.
from that room. I mean, you can never know all. You can, yeah, you can't have everything. I mean, on your fingertips, everything is gonna
Yeah.
change tomorrow from what you know yesterday. Yeah.
I think
So, go
I
on.
was just going to say, I think too, if you're the smartest person in the room, you most often don't listen to what's being said because you're just thinking of the next brilliant thing you're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you miss, or you close the door, if you will, on that open conversation.
Yeah, and I'm always open to feedback. This is what we should always be. I mean,
Yeah.
even what I'm doing now, I'm doing a podcast, and someone else knows better than I know. So I'd gotta be there to listen to what he or she has to say. If Vicky
Yeah.
comes here and tells me, Anthony, there's a better way of doing this, then I'd better be open-minded and see what's in it.
Yeah, and that's just part of our growth and evolution, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I love this time that we're in, because there's constant things that are put in front of us. And sure, it's comfortable to do things the way we've always done, but I think COVID taught us you have to change. You have to really be able to pivot quickly
Yeah.
and get over yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you don't like something and that's too bad, just get over yourself and see, how you can make and embrace that. And maybe it isn't right for you, but what else can you do to stay in the times?
Mm. There's somewhere you talk about fear and courage together.
Yeah.
How do you bring them together? What are they? I mean, how do they come into this equation?
So I think a lot of times we let our fear keep us from the opportunities that are presented to us.
Mm,
In 2021, I had finished 2 years of being a region advisor for Toastmasters and having supported people in California, and I'm in Georgia.
mm-hmm,
And I saw that they had a fear when I first started working with them 2 years before, just before COVID hit. They were, well, we can't do this online. You cannot connect with people online.
Mhm.
You can't evoke any emotion of people when you're online. You can't get people to do things. You can't inspire. And I had said that is not true. And I had spent probably 4 months trying to convince them of that. And
Mhm.
then COVID hit. And all of a sudden, I was the genius in the room. But
Mhm.
it wasn't. It was just telling them what, my experience had taught me. So the thing was that they were afraid of how they would appear on camera. They were afraid that the technology wouldn't work. They were afraid that they would not be as impactful online as they were in person.
Mhm.
But the thing is, you had to have the courage to put yourself out there for that first live,
Mhm.
put yourself out that for that first meeting where you asked all the people to turn on their cameras. You were that first person who shared your story that was made you vulnerable and authentic, and watched how you could still connect with your eyes by leaning in, by having the pauses to hold them, to make them hungry for your next words,
Mhm.
all via this small box that you're talking to. And it makes a difference.
Mhm.
So when you think about fear and courage, fear, I believe, can be the driver to make you better, but you have to have the courage to try. And courage is really the strength of a great leader. And it isn't someone that's beating up people and things. It's the courage to do things that you're not comfortable in, to go places that you feel anxious about, that you've not ever done before. So
Mhm.
for me to do a podcast, to write a book, I mean, I wrote 4 books as a compilation. So I was not the main author, but still, I wrote 4 chapters in a year.
Yeah.
I did 150 podcasts. If I would have been asked in 2018 that if I had written anything or gone on a podcast or done all the things that I did, I would have thought, no way.
Yes.
But I saw the need and I pushed through my fears and found the courage to say, you know what? I don't think I'll die from doing a podcast. I don't think I'll die from writing these chapters. If no one reads it, it's okay. At
Mhm.
least I tried. And if I go and try to coach and counsel people and nobody comes, it's okay because I'm learning and I'm growing. And so I think that's what we have. We have that fear from whenever we were cave people and there's no tigers coming after us.
Mhm.
But that fear of tigers way back when made us innovative, made us creative,
Yeah.
made us to get things done that we need to get done. And
Mhm.
that's what we need now in 2023 and beyond is we need to have that fear to drive us to be innovative, to be creative, to make change not a terrible word, but
Mhm.
make change be a great motivator for us to be better.
Yeah. That's very well said. And as someone said, that courage is in the absence of fear. It's
Yeah,
going on despite being in the fear itself.
exactly.
Just keep moving, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate you. We also appreciate all those who are watching and listening. I see Yorgos there. I see other people who are watching. And I thank you for being here with us. Thank you very much. And thank you very, very much, Vicky, for being here with us and everything that you have shared with us. We are
Well,
almost gone, but before we go, would like you to maybe stress on how you would like to work with the person who's listening here and
yeah.
how they can follow up with you if they would be interested to work with you.
There are so many ways that they can work with me, but right now I have a 3-session course coming up in July for improving your presentation, your communication skills. So it's just 3 2-hour sessions in July,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called Polish Your Delivery. So I'd love for them to check that out. I do have coaching. I have 3, 6, and 1 year coaching for folks to really again, to be a great leader, you have to be a great communicator. And so I coach both on leading with your heart, head, and hands, as well as improving your public speaking skills, getting over that fear and having the courage to get better. And then finally, you can go and see all my podcasts on my website as well as YouTube and all of the audio channels. My podcast is, or my website is www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. Again, findyourleadershipconfidence.com. So you can find all that information out there, and I would love to connect with you. You can, on that website, just click for an initial conversation and let's have a talk together.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We appreciate you, Vicky, for everything.
Thank you, Anthony. It's been
Yes.
so great talking with you.
Yeah, it's been great talking with you too. And before you go, I would like you to leave us with a few words that we should always remember. Which are they?
Yeah. So I always end my podcast that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicky Noethling signing off.
Yeah, signing off. But even before we go, as we sign off, I would like to appreciate someone who's just come in and is saying, "Thank you for this. I have prepared a number of programs for parenting skills training, but I have not yet gained the courage to invite the parents." So we
Uh,
don't leave this person out. Is Eve Uchinge. Give
So
her.
that's one of the things that I work with also students 9 through 17 to
Mhm.
give them their voice. And to me, that's my way of making sure the future leaders of the world have great communication skills. So definitely. And whenever I have the courses, the community courses that I do, I ask the parents first to chat, to do the training, and let the kids watch the parents, and then then the kids do it. So it's a great experience for both.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, this has been Now Tell Us. I thank you, Eve, for that contribution, and everyone who's watching. You can always continue adding your comments or questions, and we will be glad to answer them. Vicky will be always encouraged to come after you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, to encourage you to keep being a good leader and a good communicator. So that's about it. We are signing off. This has been Now Tell Us. I've been your host, Anthony Morore, and together with our guest, Vicky Noethling, we're saying bye for now. Bye.
Goodbye.